I grew a seven-figure company in 15 months, and it was one of the biggest mistakes of my entire entrepreneurial career. So, in this video, totally raw, I want to break down exactly why that was one of the biggest mistakes of my career and some of the harsh lessons I learned along the way so you can avoid the same mistakes. All right. So the year is 2019. And at this point, I'd run Alpha Empires, which was my e-commerce marketing agency, which was insanely profitable. Like I was taking home multiple six figures in just straight profit, small team, great business, right? And I ended up seeing this opportunity. I joined a mastermind and I thought, saw these guys making a ton of money selling to real estate agents. Did a little bit of market analysis. Thought, hell, there's 2 million real estate agents in North America alone. This is a much bigger market, which obviously, hindsight 2020, obviously it's not. There's far more e-commerce. But I was like, right, I'm going to go for this. It's easier to fulfill on, which is definitely true. And there was a lot more of these guys. Hey, let's just close them on $1,000, $1,500 a month. And that's what I decided to do. So I took the profits every month from my very successful and very profitable e-commerce agency, and I decided to do a hard launch on my real estate marketing agency. So I ended up running two. Now, the big difference with the real estate one is I never did sales in any capacity. I literally was the marketing guy. I built the funnels for it, etc. And then I just hired salespeople from day number one, and then got them to go to the market and basically tell them what the market feedback was. And this is, in hindsight, basically where the problem started because I actually wasn't in touch with the market at all. When I had initially grown the e-commerce agency, I had e-commerce businesses previously. And the reason I decided to switch from running my own e-com brands and stores to going into the marketing agency like domain and then doing a bit of consulting too was because I figured out the bit that I was really good at and that I liked the most was just the marketing and growth side, right? I really kind of laid out the rest of my life pretty much to this point. So we ended up growing. I think within literally 2 months, we were already doing north of 20, like 20 or 30K a month. I'd hired a couple of salespeople. My kind of COO from my other agency kind of came over and started running this agency instead. Hired some customer support reps, and we had these first clients coming on. And this is when I kind of got my first shock. Within these first few months, we had this client out in California, and he had paid, and we'd started delivering the results from him. And he wasn't doing the work at the time to follow up the leads because the offer was just leads at the time. And then basically it was this whole thing of like, oh, I'm gonna sue you. And this was like a huge shock for me. I mean, bear in mind, this is best part of a decade ago, not quite 5-6 years ago. And I, at this point, worked with 20, 30, 40, 50 different e-com brands, and I currently got a roster of clients. And this had never even remotely happened, And it really exposed how the people you choose to work with, you need to look at their like personality traits and their avatars. And one of the things that came very apparent and was really the quote unquote downfall of this business before I sold it was the type of people in real estate aren't actually business people. You assume they are because they're basically commissioned sales reps. And they present themselves as like business people, but in reality they have no business acumen at all. The vast majority, in fact, the vast majority never sell a house. They get a license like $200. So that was one thing. So now I've got split attention, and I'd got these clients, and we were getting them leads, and then they were complaining, and then we'd had some staff come in and some issues with staff. Like, for example, my main sales guy was complaining that he wasn't making enough, so I started to front load him and give him more of a base, which again was another thing that you absolutely, in my opinion, should not do unless you have an incredibly long sales cycle on your business. You should just do straight commission for sales reps. As long as you've got a proven model. If you're bringing them into a business that's unproven, I do think you could actually have a base. Now, so what ended up happening is because my focus was split, so I'd got this like shiny object of like this huge industry, my other business was just not flourishing. Like, it wasn't consistently growing. Like, it had consistently been growing month over month for this entire inception, since I left New York. And it was a great business. I worked with amazing clients. I had really good deal structures with them. So like, when I work with clients, I always do like a base plus commission. So let's say we'll do 5K a month plus 10% of upside, or we'll do a certain percentage of ad spend depending on the business. And it enabled me to earn 10, 15,000 per month per client. And I just work with roughly 5 clients at any one time, 5, 10 at the most. So that business essentially plateaued, and my stress level was dealing with this other business that was struggling and really wasn't profitable for the first, let's say, I don't know the exact number, but let's say the first 4, 5, even 6 months. It basically was just burning cash because I hired ahead of time in the foresight of growth, and I was spending a lot of money on ads and everything. Now, although it eventually kind of worked out, and in the we got up to that just under a 7-figure run rate, I think, at the back end of 2020. It also, in the same time, cost me my relationship. So now I was stressed out. I was working 24/7. I was living with my partner at the time, and we ended up splitting up. And then just after, just before we split up, I should have mentioned this, was when the pandemic started. So we rolled into the pandemic, and then just after that, I ended up splitting up with my girlfriend and moving home. And this business was, then it was like on the upswing. We were making 50+% profit margin. I was like, oh, this is going really good. And then there was just a whirlwind of issues. There was chargebacks that came in. Clients weren't happy. I had a bunch of staff leave, and I was still trying to maintain my e-commerce business, but I wasn't actively growing it anymore. So I had a couple of clients leave. We actually helped one client exit his company, which was like an amazing feeling. And I found joy in this one place, and I found just pain and suffering in this other. So although the revenue number is amazing, it was sub 20% profit, I think, over that 15 months. I ended up exiting that company, luckily, to the guy that's actually ended up becoming my best friend, which is just purely fortuitous, who I met at this mastermind, or like this high-level coaching program, let's say, because he had a marketing agent for real estate agents. He is a real estate agent too. So he basically just acquired the contracts and the staff. So I ended up having a fortuitous kind of exit event that allowed me to exit within a couple of weeks of the business. And that was in, I think, I want to say around May of 21, roughly. I might get my dates wrong here. And I like, one thing I forgot to mention is that company got up to 26 people, I think, in total. Like, we had a call center in the Philippines. We had all the staff looking after the clients. We had the sales team. We had setters, and those people, as much as they profess to be, great and in your corner and whatnot, and ultimately this is just a lesson in life. So it's not throwing any actual shade against people. It's just the nature of humans. It's like, I had, one of my sales guys leave, and the first thing he decided to do was try and poach all of our clients, right? So he took the entire database and was just reaching out to them. So had to get lawyers involved with that and legal side of that. I then, I've had other people come and try and, scam me out of stuff, or blackmail me, or take money from me, and then just leave and never come back. And there was just it's this plethora of lessons that you learn. Now, on the flip side, the things that it taught me, and one of the things that I want to instill in you, is that you have to figure out exactly the type of business you want. So Alpha Empires, I think was 5 people, including me. And it was in my pocket, multi-6 figures per year in just straight profit, and gave me an amazing work-life balance. I dealt with great clients. I made, good money, and I didn't have to work a ton of hours, right? You're talking under 10 hours a week for sure. Realty Excel, on the other hand, was nothing but a nightmare, constant challenges, terrible pains of clients, Didn't enjoy working with them. I didn't even like speaking with the clients. I hated it so much. And it's now put me to the point where even though literally two of my best friends are top real estate agents, I just hate even talking about real estate. Now, my last business, and this is my biggest takeaway, was when you figure out exactly what you want out of your business, I think the majority of people who are coaches, consulting agency people want I would say sub 10. Some people will want literally 1 people to 3 people businesses that actually just make them six, up to, let's say, $1 million a year in profit for themselves. Like the last company that I co-owned, Ramped, that was about 1.5 million a year in just profit. And there was essentially me and my partner in that company and a few contractors for little bits and bobs. It was very lean. We worked with the best clients. We had an amazing deliverable, amazing reputation. The business has been going over 7 years. And I look back on that company and think like it was a phenomenal lifestyle business. And it's actually what most people in the coaching consulting kind of space would ideally like to achieve, where they get to essentially live life on their own terms. They have this cash cow of money coming in where they can choose to invest in other things, be philanthropic, and do that type of stuff. And I've actually got a video up here for me breaking down exactly how I did make 1.5 million a year in profit, like all the funnels and stuff. So feel free to go check that out. So I know this was a bit of a rant. I really hope you got value out of this. I've been doing this nearly a decade now. So check out other videos in the channel. Hit a subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.